Well, once the favourites were in, the most important thing to British cycling fans was the clock. 33 minutes and 7 seconds was the cut-off time for elimination from the Tour, and it passed with no sign of Mark Cavendish. He finally arrived in a group 35 minutes 40 behind the winner, but there were 88 men in it, more than half the field, and the rules allow for reinstatement of a group arriving outside the cut-off if it's more than 20% of the peloton.
Well, it's not a surprise that there was always going to be a lot of people, but we expected maybe just to get in the time limit. We were just outside a couple of minutes. That's a shame. That's how it goes. Because the group is so big, you know, we don't get eliminated, but I lose 20 points from well, everyone in the group loses 20 points now, so that puts me only 15 ahead of Rojas, who's in the group ahead, and that's how it goes. At least we can start the stage tomorrow.
Cadel, you fought hard for your Tour de France today, but it seemed like you had to fight alone.
Yeah, it's you know, of course with the Schleck brothers, like I've been saying all year, it's they're in combination. They have the best climbing team here. You know, they put it all on the line, and they really had to with a long range attack there. But you know, I can control the attack 30k out, but another one's going to you know, if Andy comes back, Frank's probably going to go away, and for me, having Andy away, at least there's normally only one I have to control in the final. But you know, doing the just on a numbers basis, 20, 30k block headwind, upper valley, we're in 40, they're in 4 riding at the front. There's sort of up to between 1 and 9 guys riding behind. Really, you know, they rode incredibly fast in front. It's a little bit
Hard for your Tour de France today, but it seemed like you had to fight alone.
Yeah, it's you know, of course with the Schleck brothers, like I've been saying all year, it's they're in combination. They have the best climbing team here. You know, they put it all on the line, and they really had to with a long range attack there. But you know, I can control the attack 30k out, but another one's going to you know, if Andy comes back, Frank's probably going to go away, and for me, having Andy away, at least there's normally only one I have to control in the final. But you know, doing the just on a numbers basis, 20, 30k block headwind, upper valley, we're in 40, they're in 4 riding at the front. There's sort of up to between 1 and 9 guys riding behind. Really, you know, they rode incredibly fast in front. It's a little bit can't quite understand how they made quite so much time.
Yeah, very proud of Andy, who took off in the Zohar, far away from the finish, and hung on there.
He spoke about it like 3 days ago. He said we have to take risks, and I'm going to go early. This Tour de France for you. I'm going to go early, so the leaders, they're going to be isolated, and you follow. They have to do a lot of work to get me back. By the time they have me back, you attack and you go and you take the Tour de France. It almost worked out. It worked out for the Schlecks, so that's the most important thing.
At the end of the day, are you happy with your position today?
Oh, you know, I'll have a look at the results and so on, and we'll see what happens in the last 2 days. I'm never happy to lose places on GC.
And the gap is tiny, 15 seconds, 2 stages to go. It's looking good.
It's perfect.
Thursday on the Tour saw the highest point of this year's race and the highest stage finish ever used. And the action more than lived up to the grand setting.
Andy Schleck, this is where he excels. This is what we wanted to see from Andy Schleck. He's gone on the steepest slopes.
Andy Schleck, lambasted by the critics for his caution, launching an attack with 60 kilometres still to go in this, the year's toughest stage. Behind, with Alberto Contador and Samuel Sanchez fading, and with Thomas Voeckler simply hanging on for dear life, it was another man once famed for his caution, Cadel Evans, who responded. And while Andy soloed in to take a remarkable stage win, the Australian dragged his group up the final murderous 10 kilometres to the finish, where more drama was in store. Voeckler cracking in the final metres of this brutal climb, but somehow pushing on to hold his yellow jersey from Schleck by just 15 seconds. The Frenchman had to be carried from his bike, but today he and the others will be back on the Galibier all over again. But this story is far from over. stage 19 bringing 3 giant climbs, the Galibier, the Telegraph and the most famous mountain of all, the Alpe d'Huez. Massive crowds await on its slopes for what many will feel is the climax of this year's Tour.
Amazing ride yesterday. How are you feeling today?
I feel good, recovered good. Today is not a day I try to keep, of course I enjoyed the victory, but now it's today and we have a goal today and we hope we can achieve it.
Will you have the same tactic as yesterday to go from the front again?
You expect me to go in Galibier, right? I won't. But I have a brother who's stronger also, so.
And one last question, how much time do you want to be ahead before the time trial?
I'm happy how it is now, but if it can be more, of course I'm more happy.
Thank you. Alberto Contador, as the French go ballistic here next to us. Alberto Contador said he wants to try and do something again today if he has legs. This is the Col de Telegraph and he's going to go for it. With 92 kilometers to go. Well, he's got Andy Schleck with him as well. Chris Anker Sorensen was just up ahead. He's been joined by team captain Alberto Contador, and now the big favourites immediately responding. It must be Roland, I would guess, ahead of him. Fränk Schleck is now in the wheel of brother Andy, turning a much bigger gear than Alberto Contador. The fight is on the very first climb of the day. It's going to happen all over again. We're going to have a stage like the end of the Galibier all over again today. This could be an absolute triumph for entertainment, I have to say. The riders make the race, but so do the courses. And today, a very short stage. 68 miles, 109 kilometers. And still, other riders are having to react. Thomas Voeckler is having trouble here. Samuel Sanchez is on his wheel. Cunego is back here. And 2 riders up ahead trying to pace Voeckler back into the fight here. But the big acceleration early by Alberto Contador has put the yellow jersey into trouble, and not just the yellow jersey.
Yes, he's put a lot of the general classification riders in trouble, and I'm not surprised here as we see Voeckler just making a move here to get across. He was staying behind his teammates for a moment, but looks to be comfortable now. Just played the waiting game, and we see him doing it yesterday as well, just following the other favourites and seeing what they were going to do. But here he feels that this is a danger one and going across very quickly.
Well, that answers that question. Oh, God, is he going to go past? No. I thought for a minute, Sean. I thought just for a minute. Is he going to assert his a little bit of authority? Is he going to look across at Contador, who's upping the pace once again? He's trying to kill people off. Andy Schleck with the combativity number on his back there, and seemingly untroubled by the increasing pace once again of Alberto Contador. How often do we get this early in a stage? This looks exactly like the end of the stage, Sean, and we're only at the beginning.
Yes, it looks like a final climb of the day. As we see, Evans has measured across here as well. So it's an interesting one now. Can Contador just keep it going? We see Barredo wanting to push on here, and he's the only one keeping it going for the moment. Contador is looking about, and he sees the other favourites are with him. Will he put in another attack? I'd not be surprised if we see it. If he's got the legs, he will certainly, try and keep this one going.
The Spaniard, Carlos Barredo, pacing the front of these men with the Spaniard, Alberto Contador, behind. 2 Luxembourgers, brothers Andy and Fränk Schleck. Looking comfortable behind. Barredo peels off. And we'll try and get onto the back of that group, I think. I'm not sure he wants to be associated with another stinging attack by Alberto Contador. Voeckler responds. Evans is struggling to maintain the distance. Oh, Alberto Contador is showing the great form of his his previous climbing yesterday. Is that just a blip? Has he got enough? He's clearly feeling much, much better today, Sean. He's going out.
Yes, certainly feeling, and he wants to put the Fränk in difficulty, big difficulty there. He seemed to, just lose ground rapidly on the attack from Contador there, and not looking good for Fränk there at the moment. And the Schlecks, I think they do not like this sort of start. They'd rather a longer stage when there's a big battle in the first climb of the day. It's not their first day point, and Fränk is suffering at the moment. Will Contador continue with hand in his wheel? That is the question. Can he continue? But causing problems here, Contador, for everybody, all the big favourites.
1:31 to the riders at the head of the race. The break have gone away, but look at the attacks that Alberto Contador have put in. Oh man, this is war. This is warfare. Alberto Contador wanting to rescue his Tour de France. He started the day, Sean, at 4 minutes and 44 seconds down. But I tell you what, if people hadn't gone with him, it's not inconceivable he could have brought it all back in this sort of form.
Yes, it is possible, because we can see there's big difficulty for everybody back there, and when you see these favourites in difficulty, you can imagine further back in the bunch the sprinters, what they're saying. They're not going to be happy with the tactic of Contador, but that is racing, and Contador, big loser yesterday, comes out today with big fire in the stomach, and he is definitely going for it. Can he continue on to go? It looks like that he's settled into his rhythm now, and wants to continue on with this. And we have seen a lot of the favourites there. When you look at the general classification, Basso, we have not seen him at all. Cunego, haven't seen him.
Fränk is the big loser here.
Yes, and Fränk also in major difficulty.
These are the strong men of this year's Tour de France then, the three behind Alberto Contador, certainly in their consistency. Andy Schleck, Cadel Evans, who did so much work yesterday to drag back that gap on Schleck, and Thomas Voeckler, who is hanging in here. He has the yellow jersey. He is riding like a true champion, Sean, and we'll just have to wait and see. There's nothing we can do except see what happens to Voeckler as they get to the top of the Galibier and over down onto Alpe d'Huez, because that, if he can hang in up to the Galibier, he's got every chance.
Well, it's amazing the way he's hanging in. Yesterday again we thought that he was going to really have difficulty on the final climb of the day up the Galibier, but hung in unbelievably, and defended, held on to his yellow jersey again today. He's in there and looking good. Thought he was in difficulty when we see the first attack thrown in by Contador, but came across really rapid and looks okay at the moment. But Voeckler is the top rider. He can be in there, but suddenly he can blow, and you just never know. But it's going to be a big battle today for everybody, because going out at this time, there's going to be a real difficult day, and I think we're going to see big surprises at the end on the climb to Alpe d'Huez.
I think we are. Thomas Voeckler in the yellow jersey follows Cadel Evans, who did such an incredible job yesterday, as did Andy Schleck ahead of him, all three of those men. Alberto Contador coming out fighting. He's pulled off the gloves now. And Ivan Basso, one of the really big losers. Oh, Nicholas Roche, after a long breakaway yesterday, he's out the back already, Sean. This is such a blistering pace. It's ripping things to pieces.
Yes, it's a blistering pace. When you see Nicholas Roche losing difficulty, although yesterday he had a very difficult day, finished totally empty, paying the price a bit today, but still he would be able to hang in here in the peloton. And when you see riders like Nicholas going out, you can imagine the other riders who have real difficulty climbing. As we can see here, Liquorgas taking it up, and Sylvester Schmidt on the front here. Will he be strong enough to keep the gap of Contador from growing out to be anything of a main big danger?
Well, we need to commercials force us to take a break for just a while. We'll keep an eye on everything. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. We're live here on stage 19. It's 89 kilometers to go. We only had 109.5 today, and Alberto Contador has thrown the gloves on the ground and said, that's it, I'm going to have a go today. I had a disaster yesterday. I've rested, I've eaten, I've had massage, I've sorted things out a little bit. I'll show you I can still do something in this Tour de France. And away he went from the front of the peloton. He took with him immediately Andy Schleck onto the wheel. Then Cadel Evans responded. He rode his way back up to the wheel there. Finally, Thomas Voeckler, who was being paced by his men, decided, right, I've got to go with them. There are 4 big men at the front. They've lost Fränk Schleck. They've lost Damiano Cunego. Basso is fighting to stay on. Lots of the big names. Jelle van den Dert is gone. All the sprinters at the back in all sorts of worlds of pain. Mark Cavendish off the back here will be cursing Alberto Contador at the front, and all the big favourites, because in such a short stage they are just going to blow the sprinters out of the water completely. And we'll be in another situation that we had yesterday when Cavendish and many other riders, 80 in his group, came in outside the time limit. The jury decided 80's too big a number, will reinstate them, but will dock Cavendish of 20 points for the intermediate sprint. That's the rules. Them's the rules, folks. And the big gainer yesterday in terms of the green jersey was Jose Joaquim Rojas, who came in a group of 20 riders ahead of Mark Cavendish, just inside the time limit. He didn't lose any points then. And he really closed up the fight for the green jersey. You know, if something happens the same again today, he'll be back in green. And the intermediate sprints on the final day into the Champs-Élysées will be absolutely vital. It'll be war. It's war up here too. As Alberto Contador continues to set the pace here, nobody's going to help him. He's just going to sit there, and they're going to wait to see if he blows. There is Rein Taramai. For the first time in the white jersey, in a fine ride by him yesterday, Sean. Finally, he's got there, having been leapfrogged about 4 times.
Yes, and he's in a good position at the moment, but again today, after these efforts, maybe some of the riders there who wouldn't be big experience in a big tour, put in a big effort yesterday, can pay the price today. So all these jersey situations, they're so close, they're up for grabs, and we see Tamaray putting in a great performance. Will he be able to continue on and hang in here today, as we see the Liquigas continue on setting the pace here? And you know, the bunch quite big all the time, but Contador, I think he's going to continue on. And when you look at the route here, you know, the Telegraph which we're on at the moment, the summit is at 26 kilometres. It goes down for a little bit, about 5 kilometres, and then we're on to the Col de Galibier. So he doesn't need a lot of help from the other ones, because on the climb, of course, you're not getting a lot of drafting, and he's going to continue. It looks like that he's you know, settled into his pace setting here. And then at the Galibier, it's downhill. There's a long downhill to the Alpe d'Huez. So it's a stage here where you know, you can afford to ride if you're really on a good day. The ones sitting your wheel, they're not getting that huge benefit because of the profile of the route today.
Up front, Alberto Contador has put in an attack that's drawn 3 of the big men of this Tour de France with him. Cadel Evans responded, Andy Schleck was straight onto the wheel of Alberto Contador. I still think then Sean showing, this is the breakaway by the way, showing that a lot of those big favourites fear Alberto Contador. Even though he took a packet yesterday, he's still within striking distance. If they let a rider of his quality 6 straight wins in Grand Tours get away by himself or get any time, you're in big trouble.
Yes, well, you cannot allow him to ride away on his own. And you see immediately the Schlecks are in a position where they have 2 riders up in the general classification, so you have to put one on the wheel immediately when Contador goes, and then Voeckler is going to follow. We see Cadel Evans following here. You just cannot allow a rider like Contador ride off on his own, because then you're in the situation which we see yesterday: who is going to take up the chase, what team is going to take responsibility. So the best thing to do is go with him and you know, have a man up there. And that's what, you know, Evans have decided to do. And of course we see Evans's team yesterday struggle a bit in the end as well. And if you haven't a team that can ride really strong in a stage like today and get you onto the final mountain with 1 or 2 other riders who can help you out in the final mountain, well, then you have to be careful.
Look, he's going again, Sean. He's going again. He's putting the pace up again. Alberto Contador, he wants to see how much he can make people hurt. I think the first person he wants to get rid of, he's looking at them one by one to see who can pick off. And I think Voeckler is the one he wants to go first. And Voeckler is going. Voeckler is going from the back of this group. Thomas Voeckler is slipping, and I think right behind him there is Cadel Evans. Evans and Contador. Evans and Voeckler are suffering, and Evans is gone! Evans gone!
Is a problem with some mechanical problem?
I think so. It must be. He's just completely stopped. No, he's getting back on again.
It's the legs, not the wheel.
Oh.
He was thinking that there was something wrong mechanically. You could see him there looking down, hopped off, turned his wheel a bit, but I think it's just that the gradient here, and Evans seems to be in real difficulty keeping it turning.
Now Thomas Voeckler has nobody to ride with him, and Alberto Contador and Andy Schleck have gone dancing up the road. There they are. They are catching what is splitting up of the original 14-man breakaway. There is a problem. He's not happy with it. Evans passed by Burkhardt. Burkhardt with him. Burkhardt's going to have to try and bury himself to pace things up. Well, I'm not quite sure what the problem is. Maybe the wheel is not sitting in the dropouts correctly. That's a bad situation for Cadel Evans to find himself in.
Yes, it's a disaster situation, and when he stopped first of all and he turned the wheel, you should be able to see immediately if there was a problem, if it wasn't sitting right in line in the frame. Surely he should have seen it there. You know, stop once is a big problem, but when you have to stop the second time, it's a disaster here. And you know, he's after losing a lot of time now, and the way Contador's riding out front, Evans is going to have a major test to try and get back up to Contador and Schleck.
Well, we get to the top of the Col de Telegraph. It's about 4 kilometres for our leading riders. Now, there is this slight downhill, Sean, but I don't think it's going to be enough for a man like... Oh, he's going to getting a bike change. It's a complete disaster for Cadel Evans. The Tour de France potentially could be going down the pan for this man today. And he's going to have to do it all over again as he did yesterday, Sean. He's got to fight like Berlioz to try and get it back up to riders ahead of him, including Andy Schleck again.
Yes, well, it's a disaster here for Cadel Evans, you know, just stopping once, then stopping twice, then making a bike change here. He's going to find himself, you know, 30 seconds plus behind the group of Contador and Schleck, and Contador is just continuing on, and we could see there the just opening pace there, the way he just put Voeckler out the rear door, and he's going to continue. And of course, this little downhill of 5 kilometres, then we get onto the Galibier, he will continue. And Andy Schleck, we could see him starting to, you know, work up front with Contador as well, because he's in a magnificent situation now with Evans on his own. You know, if the two work together up front, well, then it's going to be very difficult for Cadel Evans to make it back into these two big favourites.
Alberto Contador and Andy Schleck join the breakaway group at the front here. Fletcher looking over his shoulder, seeing his fellow countryman Alberto Contador coming up, and think them. A lot of them must be thinking, this is crazy. This is, I can't believe this is happening, or at least they thought something might happen, but maybe not. Contador and Schleck on the attack, and Voeckler is all by himself, looking as though he's for all the world struggling. Thomas Voeckler, the yellow jersey, is putting up a brave fight all by himself. He's got nobody with him. And this is where he has to dig in, and he's beginning to bob the head around Sean already here.
Yes, I think he's in major difficulty, and you know, losing contact there, the morale, you start to lose a bit of that as well. But it's all about the feeling. If you haven't got the power, and I think Contador is paying for the effort yesterday, and here on his own, he's just going to lose, you know, time rapidly.
One minute and 7 seconds Cadel Evans has lost to the front of the race, which is here. Maxim Miglinski for Astana, with Alberto Contador on the left-hand side here. Andy Schleck for company once again. Maxim Miglinski. Looking over the shoulder is Jérôme Pinot. Pinot can see Voeckler there. I wonder, Sean, they know each other well. I wonder whether Pinot might just slow the pace a little and try and help him.
Well, he might do a little bit, but I think it will be very little because Pinot, he's not riding well this year, and we heard about, you know, the problems he's had in the last number of days as well. I don't think he'll be capable of doing a lot here, and you know, it's not looking good. The only hope now is that we see the Liquigas setting the pace. If they can continue on riding on the front and keep it going over the top of this climb, the Telegraph, and then onto the Galibier, they could keep that advantage from growing out. But again, I think we will see Contador upping the pace as we go on to the Galibier, certainly. So it all depends on BMC, if there's a number of riders within the Liquigas train here as well, which we see them coming to join up with Cadel Evans. That is the only thing that can save the two riders, Cadel Evans and Thomas Voeckler.
Voeckler is 22 seconds back on this little group here, led now by Alberto Contador with Andy Schleck in the wheel. Brave fighting by Voeckler, but you have to say he looks in real physical trouble. Now, there's Iglinski's been blown out of the back, and there is Thomas Voeckler. He has Pinot just ahead of him, different teams, same nation. Pinot he looks again to see what he can do, if anything. I don't think there's any doubt that he was just hoping that maybe Thomas would be able to stay with him. He can't be seen to be offering him open help maybe, but he clearly was a bit shouting, maybe looking behind him and giving him words of encouragement, shouting at him, saying, get on the wheel if you can.
Yes, he's certainly trying to, you know, give a little bit of a dig out to Thomas Voeckler here. You know, he just ups the pace a bit. He was coming back and very quickly, but Voeckler not able to follow, and I think Voeckler is in big difficulty here. The only thing now is he will be in contact with his director sportive. Just knock it back a bit, see can he get into a rhythm, and when this train comes, the Liquigas train that comes by, if he can latch on to that, and if he cannot do that, well then he's in big difficulty. So it's all about, you know, calculating now and just get a little bit of a rest time and get into the rhythm and hopefully recover, because went into the red big time trying to follow Contador, and that's what he's paying for Voeckler at the moment.
Surely that must be the most sensible option, Sean, is just to knock it back a bit, take a K or two off until the Liquigas train arrives.
And I think that's the reason he wasn't following Pinot for the moment there. Jerome Pinot opened it a little bit too fast maybe for Voeckler, now back in the wheel and just, you know, staying here. So it is possible that he is calculating on what's happening behind.
Yep. The other guys behind, of course, Ivan Basso, Damiano Cunego and Cadel Evans will be trying just as hard to get back up. At the moment, the work is being done by Liquigas. There was no other team to do it because the rest were scattered out up the road. Cadel Evans sits behind now Ivan Basso. And the Europcar team there or thereabouts at the front, Sean, they're waiting. Robert Hessink out of the back, they're waiting for the moment when perhaps that Liquigas drag train will ride up to Thomas Voeckler, and then they can add to the firepower.
Yes, we can see them just appearing there, waiting for the moment behind the Liquigas team, but they know that Thomas Voeckler is just out ahead. They've been made well aware of that by team director, and we will see them taking it up and trying to up the pace here, work with the Liquigas team and limit the loss up to Contador and Schleck.
Jerome Pinot ups the pace a little bit again. I think he's saying to Thomas, can you take a little more? Can I up it a K? And Voeckler sitting in the wheel tracks. I think although that is incredibly painful for Thomas Voeckler, the morale takes a little bit more of a push upwards, Sean, if you've got somebody there willing to work with you.
Yes, if you've got somebody to just make a pace that's not too fast, that they're, you know, on the limit and going into the red zone, it's a good situation. Just follow the wheel, and if you can talk to the rider, and of course Voeckler and Pinot would be good buddies, and I think you know, they are in contact there, and for the moment Pinot's continue on to make a pace, and Voeckler looks not to be comfortable to me at the moment.
No, he doesn't look comfortable, but he's so gutsy, and he has got that habit of bobbing and weaving around on the bike and pulling faces, and he's not that far behind. Jerome Pinot is doing a very good job. you know, we had that interview with Pino at the top, Carlton, didn't we? And he's basically said, you know what, I've had it here. I don't want to be here anymore. I've lost my uncle already. There's nothing for me to be here for. He's found something to be here for today. He doesn't owe anything to the team anymore, he feels in his mind, but he has got a friend here that he's going to help.
Yep, you know what? He's doing it for France right now. That's exactly it. He's got nothing else to lose. He's fed up with it. He's full of adrenaline, he's full of anger, and he's just turning that into something useful here, particularly useful for Thomas Voeckler.
30 seconds back to the yellow jersey, but he's still doing a good job, Voeckler, with the help of a very brave and very gutsy Jerome Pinot, who we know is a strong rider, Sean. He's not been riding in his best form, but it's amazing. He's not going to have lost that sort of base fitness and that aggression. He can, of course, this is the summit of the mountain. He's not going to bother going for it, Andy. Little shake of the head. Over the top goes Urtuzan first. And then behind Andy Schleck, not really bothering with contesting it. Thought about it for just a second, but thought, no, I've got bigger things in mind. Just has to rein himself in a little bit. But Jerome Pinot, we know what a gutsy rider is. He tried last year all the way through the Tour de France to wrestle with Anthony Charteau for the mountains classification, and he's really turning on what little reserves he's still got.
Well, he's really digging in here and to give everything he has got for Thomas Voeckler to try and get him back into the leading group. As we can see here, Voeckler just acknowledges that, and as they go for the descent, just over 33 or 4 seconds behind that group of Contador. Now we will see Thomas Voeckler making one of these descents and try and get back in, and he is recovering a little bit, and I did say that he looks to be suffering and not comfortable, but I don't think there's anybody comfortable out there at the moment, or very, very few riders. Everybody's at the limit with this, rapid start.
Pinot can go downhill pretty well as well, not quite as well as Voeckler, but I think he will take the effort at the front here, and there he goes. Get into my wheel, I'll pace you. This is going to be a mighty ride by Jerome Pinot if he helps Thomas Voeckler. What brave riding by the two Frenchmen. They're up against one man, the greatest tour rider of his generation. He's won 6 straight Grand Tours as the peloton comes over the top. 135 now, the loss against Alberto Contador, and more importantly, Andy Schleck. At this point, 135 is a significant amount, Sean, because that's going to go out if they keep riding at the same sort of pace up ahead. And although Evans is the better time trialist, Andy Schleck is the benefiter here.
Yes, and I think the terrain is the problem here. If we had a bit of flat terrain in the valley, 25 kilometres, that's where it would be advantage to the group of Basso, Cadel Evans, because with a number of riders there prepared to ride from liquid gas, then they would be in a good position. But a very short descent and then onto the Galibier, that is going to be the difficult one.
9% is the gradient here. You know those epic stories in Greek legend or Greek history of armies marching on through mountains and over deserts and plains and being strung out, straggled out. This is exactly what it's like. It's one fight after another, and Thomas Voeckler is now a minute down on the leading group. 27 seconds back to the peloton. Surely, Sean, he must stop now for the peloton to arrive and try and stick with that. He's put in a brave fight, but it's going to take just about everything out of him. And look at the way it's now being driven on by Cadel Evans here, and that has just completely destroyed everybody behind.
Yes, well, we could see the BMCs were riding on the front, and just one by one they were peeling off the front of the bunch, and now he's down to without any teammate, and Cadel Evans has to take it up again. As we can see, the group just getting smaller and smaller, and this is going to be a difficult one for Cadel Evans, because he's riding here and he's putting a lot of riders under difficulty. Who is going to ride afterwards? And when we get onto the descent of the Galibier, it's a long descent. If Cadel Evans has to keep on riding all that descent on his own, as we see him yesterday, well, then it's going to be an awful powerful big battle between the big favourites once again. Advantage for Andy Schleck, of course, with Contador up front, and some of the other riders who are still hanging in there with them, if they can work together. But we'll have to see how many riders can stay with Cadel Evans on the climb. As we see, he's just upping the pace all the time.
Voeckler clearly getting the shout from the team car saying Evans has opened up the gas a little bit and is beginning to cut down the gap, as he did yesterday to Contador and Schleck, and it's Evans being forced to do the work. Brave effort by Tommy, but once again, Sean, he's shown he wins one or two good races every year, and he's not medium races but very good races, as Basso is now clinging on for dear life here at the back with Sylvester Schmidt under the pressure of Cadel Evans. He wins one or two very good races a year, Thomas Voeckler, and he does it with strength and guile and tactical nous. So now he's reverted into tactical nous mode. He's allowed himself to think rather than the emotion take over him and think, right, okay, I'm losing ground, and I can hear in my radio that Evans is coming up to us. I'll get in that group.
Yes, and I think there was a point when he was undecided exactly what to do. It looked like he was going to get across to the Contador Schleck group, but then he decided to knock it back when he knew the group of Evans Basso was coming up, and he could hear from team car that BMC was setting a good pace, and now he's just going to sit in this group and just play the waiting game, and that's all he can do for the moment. As we see up front, Contador still doing a huge amount of the pace pulling on the front.
Contador has done the majority of the work here from the word go. He instigated the attack, so the onus is on him, of course. And although he's 4 minutes and 44 seconds down at the beginning of the day, we mustn't forget that he really is the grand champion of his generation, and nobody wants to give him any more rope than they possibly can. 1 minute and 20 seconds is the gap at the moment, and Evans, it's just a carbon copy of yesterday now, Sean. Evans has to do the work here.
Yes, and but much further out from the finish, and that is going to be a real difficult one. Still over 60 kilometres to go.
The expectation was immense at the start of today's stage 19 on the Tour de France, with 3 enormous climbs in such a short space of time. 109.5 kilometres is just 68 miles, and in that 68 miles this peloton has had to cover the first category, Col de Telegraph, the second, the or category, out of category, Col de Galibier, the second climb of the day, rush down the other side and get into Alpe d'Huez, which is the final mountain in this year's Tour de France. The or category legendary climb, first climbed in 1952 and won by Fausto Coppi. But today it's going to be another epic showdown. Fränk Schleck has won on the Alpe. Alberto Contador has won on the Alpe. And now we are returning with the yellow jersey on the shoulders of Thomas Voeckler, who has been riding out of his skin. There he is, back in the peloton. 1 minute and 10 seconds now, the gap between this leading group of riders, the yellow jersey group. There we are. Hernandez, who's going to do nothing. Fränk Schleck, who's going to do nothing. Samuel Sanchez, Danielson, Hushovd, Ivan Basso, Schmidt, Cassar, Jeannesson. Great ride by Jeannesson. Evans, Cunego, Velits, Voeckler, Chateau and Roland. And having spent a long time trying to eat up the gap between himself and Andy Schleck and Alberto Contador, Thomas Voeckler has had to throw in the towel for just a little bit, for that brave riding in the middle anyway, and go back and seek the help of others. The top of the Galibier, you can see. They go through the tunnel this time around and plummet down the other side, and Sean, the gap is coming down under the work of now Pierre Roland. Before that it was Cadel Evans. This is going to be this is Samuel Sanchez now, who's clearly just been biding his time. Sanchez, who lost a lot of time yesterday as well. Sanchez, who now lies 8th overall at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. He more possibly looking to the mountains classification because Jelle van den Dert already out of the running for today's points, Sean.
Yes, definitely. We see Van den Dert going out the rear very early, and he's not in this group, so not in a position to pick up some points at all. So Samuel Sanchez is going here, and he is still, a little bit from the top, but he feels that this group is not going fast enough and wants to go out there and try and limit the loss before we get to the summit. And on the descent, of course, that's where Samuel Sanchez could make contact with the group of Contador, Schleck. This long descent of 45 kilometres.
Oh, look. Cadel Evans, a little aggression now from the man from Australia, has got all the other favourites looking around, and Voeckler's gone. Voeckler can't stay with that at all, and the yellow jersey has had to cede that he cannot go. Pierre Rolland, on the other hand, has to keep going. He's now got the white jersey to look into, and Thomas Voeckler is without anybody around him in the yellow jersey. Charteau looking around to see where Voeckler is, but Rolland, I think, has to ride on for the white jersey here, Sean.
Yes, Rolland will have to continue. We see Charteau looking about, and I think he will have to wait back for Voeckler, because Charteau doesn't have anything to defend at all in this race, where the other rider, he's the white jersey classification, still very much up there in that. But Thomas Voeckler in real difficulty here. I think he's at the digging in too deep in the earlier part of this stage and starting to pay the price. And we can see Cadel Evans not allowing Samuel Sanchez to ride away there, because he knows on the descent, if Samuel Sanchez gets to the top with 15 seconds ahead of the group of Cadel Evans, to catch him on the descent is going to be impossible. So he wants to keep Samuel Sanchez in sight here.
Sanchez, I think, realising that he has the chance to try and get away. If he has the legs today, he'll have a go on the Alpe d'Huez as well. He wants to try and put some points in the bag for the mountains classification as well. He was just 2 points behind Jelle van den Dert this morning, but of course Andy Schleck will have picked up a load as well. He was on 70 points this morning, so it's very tight at the top of the mountains classification. Van den Dert on 74, Samuel Sanchez on 72. Andy Schleck's already gone across with 8 points, I think, from the last climb. But there's still a lot to play for in that. All the jerseys up for grabs, and Rolland has to keep riding at the front for the white jersey competition. He's got to keep going as long as he possibly can. He's with Evans and Fränk Schleck. Rider Hushovd and Tom Danielson from Garmin Cervélo are here. Basso is tailed off. And where is the yellow jersey of Thomas Voeckler? He was with Jérôme Coppel for a while. There he is. He's got 2 teammates with him now, Sean.
Yes, he's got Charteau with him, and the other rider is Vincent
Giraud.
Yes, so they will just continue on making the pace. Hopefully that Voeckler can recover a bit and get it together again. And the long descent, you never know, with 2 teammates, that is going to be the big hope for Voeckler, that on the descent that they can make a real good descent and get him back into that group of Basso possibly, or maybe to Cadel Evans. Throw it too fast.
Too fast is he's yelling. But there's nothing he can do about that. Looking behind now, Vincent Giraud trying to set his pace according to what Thomas Voeckler needs. Voeckler really at the ragged edge, because all the emotions are coming out now, yelling at his teammates that they're going a little too fast for him. 34 seconds back from this group here to Samuel Sanchez, then Cadel Evans coming up to Sanchez's wheel as well. It's been a great response by Evans. He's done it in spurts, but it has been a great response.
Yes, he's doing a big ride here again today, and we can see him here still on the front of this group, pulling it along. And what a ride Evans is having to do here to keep in contention for the overall victory here, because he knows with Andy Schleck out front, if he takes another minute and a half from him, well, then it's going to be a real danger one for the time trial. And he's just got to commit, and not any other big favourites able to commit or wanting to commit with him for the moment. And this is going to be a big battle, and the Alpe d'Huez is going to be more difficult again, because today we were expecting a big group of riders to come to the bottom of Alpe d'Huez, but here we are right from the beginning. Contador thrown in the attack on the Telegraph, and what a race it has been to now, and what a final it's going to be up the Alpe d'Huez.
And he takes the points at the top of this all category climb as they go through the tunnel. Finished in 1891, this tunnel was. The first man through it was Émile Georget. First man on two wheels, Émile Georget, in 1911. And here, 100 years later, this is a battle that every one of those riders in the 1911 Tour would have understood. This is a real battle. This is a proper bike race. Voeckler gets a new bidon. Tell you what, Thomas, you can take as much sticky bottle syndrome as you like. That's a fan speaking rather than a commentator. Now three men with him. Pierre Rolland is back here now, Sean. Kevin de Weert from Quickstep. Danielson. Leipheimer in here as well. So a lot of riders scattered all over the place, and Thomas, whose style is not the most elegant in the world anyway, just giving it everything to get through this tunnel on the Galibier. Now we saw how well Alberto Contador can descend. What sort of shape are they going to be in coming down here? Andy turned it on its head yesterday, showing us he can really go downhill quickly when he wants to, when he's concentrating. What sort of descent can Cadel Evans and Thomas Voeckler pull out of the bag, because they are superb at this sort of thing. And of course they've got Samuel Sanchez too.
Yes, and we can see that Evans 34 seconds at the moment, so it is possible in this long descent towards the Alpe d'Huez to pull back. But up front we can see Andy Schleck wanting to put on here. Voeckler, of course, a bit more difficult for him, because I think he is very tired, and after digging so deep, and when you get to the summit of a big climb, not feeling the best, you have to be careful on the descent, and not being able to make the descent as you would like to. It's a normal thing when you have to dig so deep to get to the summit of the Galibier, which Thomas Voeckler, we could see there the last metres fighting with the bike to get to the top.
You can see the leading group, including Andy Schleck, who's pushing the pace on once again today, as Samuel Sanchez just about to make the junction. It looked like he was falling back a little bit. I have the feeling, though, he was eating at the time, which is just goes to show how good he is. And there they are, just ahead of him. Sanchez has almost bridged that gap. 38 seconds back to the group with Cadel Evans in it. Cadel limiting his losses brilliantly today. Thomas Voeckler at the moment 1:57 back on Andy Schleck's group here. In between, Ivan Basso at 1:21. He's got Jakob Fuglsang, Sylvester Schmidt, Jerome Coppel, who's had a very good couple of days in the mountains, and Hernandez with him. There are the gaps on your screen then. And this long descent, very fast indeed. And Samuel Sanchez, he's a supreme bike handler in these sort of situations, Sean, isn't he?
Yes, well, he's such a great descender, and he can descend at such a rate and still, very comfortable. Other riders, can really push it, but when you're not relaxed on the climb, well, then you burn energy as well. And we did see that Sanchez was starting to, stay at around the 17 seconds mark, but I think, as you said, probably getting something to eat, and that is very important here, because we must remember, from the start we've been climbing a lot to the 48 kilometre mark. Now we have this long descent, another 45 kilometres roughly, so not a lot of time in in the uphill certainly. So on the downhill you have to be careful that you eat some here, because on the short stage you're still very open to getting, you know, the hunger call, the hunger knock as they call it in cycling. And with the stage, the monster stage they had yesterday, that's where you have to be real careful that you do not get into the position where you could get a little bit of the hunger knock on Alpe d'Huez, and if you get it on that one, well then it would be a real disaster.
Yep, it's game over if you get it there. Now, we do not have on race radio an accurate check at the moment for the gruppetto, for the bus that will include Jose Joaquim Rojas and Mark Cavendish, but I can tell you that the last time check we actually had from race radio was before the climb of the Galibier, and it was already 7.5 minutes, the gap at that point. Sanchez then makes the junction, joins Andy Schleck, looks over the wrong shoulder for a minute, makes a change, he's looking over one shoulder or the other, and Sanchez just tucks in nicely behind Christophe Riblon. Continues to descend. This probably would aid the group up ahead because he's clearly the fastest man at the moment.
Interesting thing about Sanchez the other day, he said that first he looks out for himself and his team, but then he looks out for Contador. So a bit of a wingman maybe.
You're looking down from the helicopter onto the group of Cadel Evans here with 25 kilometres to go. They've cut the gap down, they're almost upon them. You can see Evans coming around the corner. They are going to make the junction, and that is very good news for Cadel Evans. After a long chase, they're back. There's still a lot of favourites who are not in this group, but Damiano Cunego is in here, Fränk Schleck is in here, Pierre Rolland is in here, the white jersey contender right up there, and he's had to ride on for himself today. There's Cunego on the left-hand side of your shot, in the pink and the blue. Everybody calling for the car now as they get together before the foot of the Alpe. They're going in towards Bourg d'Oisans. Rolland heading off after Rui Costa, who was in the original break. Also a bit of nerves there from the youngster. 1 minute and 20 seconds back to Thomas Voeckler. Well, they've cut down about 30 seconds of that gap. They're still going to be chasing very hard indeed to get back on. If the pace eases up, Rolland is just easing it a little bit here. It's a case of who wants to charge on. Sandy Cassar is now going to the front. Roland's going to do nothing. He's done the effort he has to do at the moment to stay there. Now, here's a fact for you. The last man over the top of the Galibier, we don't know how far back he was on everybody else, was Bjorn Leukemans of Vacansoleil. 23 minutes down. 23 minutes down. So somewhere between 23 minutes and the front group is poor old Mark Cavendish in the green jersey, along with everybody else in contention for that. 1:25, driving along towards the foot of the Alpe, trying to make that gap up. They're doing a sterling job, Sean, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think, before they get to the Alpe.
I think it's going to be too much for them unless they start looking at each other up front and they start to play about. As we can see, the Cofid is taking it up as well, and of course you know, they have the interest in that young jersey classification, which the leader of which Taramay, but it all depends what happens out front. And we can see there the last shots, they were just looking, and nobody really wanted to push on. It's Frances Lejeune and Sandy Cassar who want to keep it going here, and we're getting to a section a bit further on where it does kick up, and it is a little bit of a difficult section up for about 1.5 kilometres, 2 kilometres, and that will be maybe where we could see some attacks from this group, because there is riders in here who have been sitting and playing the waiting game, and I'd not be surprised if some of them trying to, you know, get an advantage before they get to the bottom of Alpe d'Huez.
Pierre Rolland goes by himself. He will have been given the hurry-up call because, interestingly, and this is a very difficult situation for Rolland, because his team, Europcar, are pulling along the train behind because they want to bring Thomas Voeckler up towards the front, and they're being helped by Cofidis in that quest to do so. At the same time, though, the young rider leader, Rein Taramay, the Estonian, is being brought up here as well, so Rolland really has to go. He's got no choice.
Well, I'm not too sure the tactic there as he got his earpiece, because to attack here when his team is just trying to get back in with Thomas Voeckler, as we can see, 1:15. If he just stay in this group for the moment and wait and see if Voeckler can make it. I'm not sure if this is the tactic from team direction. And again here, of course, in the mountains, sometimes the relay of information is not as good as we would normally have on the flatter sections.
You've got to wonder though, Sean, because he's been the exemplary team player so far, and you'd have to wonder why he would be going by himself if that was the case. I feel certain he must have had something in his earpiece saying you've got to go. Rui Costa, of course, is another of the young Jersey riders, and now Cadel Evans with Samuel Sanchez behind. They've managed to light the blue touch paper, and away they go on this little incline, Sean, that's so difficult.
Yes, and everybody just wants to go in the attack here, and this is the section where it does kick up a bit. We can see a lot of riders just playing the game tactically, waiting for the others to chase, and there is riders here who know that if they wait to Alpe d'Huez they have no chance whatsoever, where if you get ahead and get to the Alpe d'Huez at 40 seconds, 30 seconds advantage, at least you can get up the first couple of kilometres.
Just like Christophe Riblon has decided to do. Riblon, a winner of a stage last year in the Tour de France. Big favourites aren't going to worry about Riblon. He's way down on the general classification, 1 hour 30 minutes down. Few testing of legs going on here as Schleck leads around the bend with Cadel Evans in his wheel. Then Samuel Sanchez, then Contador, then Fränk Schleck. Damiano Cunego also in this group, Sandy Cassar in this group. On to Alpe d'Huez go Pierre Rolin and Ryder Hushovd here on stage 19 of this Tour de France. They're already on it now. You could see just 47 seconds separating the men at the front from these men coming into it. They'll hit this ramp, and this is what they're up against. Carlton just show us how vicious this climb is.
Vicious, you want vicious, they're going to get it almost immediately. 10.4% into the black. Some big switchbacks. Look at this, it's interminable. Absolutely right the way through this one. First 2 kilometres in the black, the 4th kilometre as well, then the 7th, and then that dreadful ramp coming up right now here. Just count the turns in here.
Sorry to interrupt you. Carlton, I'm going to have to stop you because it's nice to have the profile, but really it's a little bit in the wrong place here. We've got Jakob Fuglsang setting the pace on the front here now, and they're trying to blow this race to pieces. You can see from the profile just how difficult it is. It does level out a little bit, but Thomas Voeckler is trying to stay with Andy Schleck this time around. Fränk Schleck is in his wheel. I don't think he's going to go this time around. Fuglsang is going away at the moment. Now, whether this is a plan to help Andy or Fränk get over these big steep ramps first of all, we don't know. Carlos Barredo's tried to go. Cadel Evans has also gone up the road. He's left the Schleck brothers behind at the moment. He's not trying to make the same mistake as he did last time. Bauke Mollema is ahead of him, but there is Cadel Evans. Sorry to interrupt you people if you were wanting to see the profile, but frankly the racing is a bit more on than that profile just coming at a little bit of the wrong time, and Fuglsang having to look over his shoulder. The Schlecks being dropped immediately, Sean.
Well, I think Fuglsang made a mistake, as we can see them all coming back together. Fuglsang was digging in big time, and I think he reckoned that the Schlecks were in his wheel. We can see him looking around now and waiting up as Cadel Evans had 10 bike lengths ahead. Fuglsang will try and just up the pace a bit and get back to Cadel Evans, and I think there is a tactic here that the Schlecks are going to try something further on, because with Fuglsang upping the pace very quickly, there surely is a plan of action.
Cadel Evans has gone out to set his own pace, which is, he hopes, I think, will be strong enough to keep those Schlecks at bay. We saw how good he was yesterday in cutting down the gap on Andy Schleck. He knows he's got the measure in terms of speed of them, as Jens Vogt goes out the back door very quickly. This is Sauvage Chavanel suffering and sliding off the back. And there is Rein Taramai. fighting as hard as he can. Wears the yellow jersey of Thomas Voeckler. As Evans sets the pace at the front, Voeckler is just on the far side of the turn. Oh, this is hard lines for the Estonian. He's just got to dig into in this very steep section as much as he can, Sean.
Yes, well, this is the section where it's going to hurt big time, and we see that they made an attack immediately on the earlier slopes. Fuglsang putting in a big attack, and he's continuing on to make a pace, a good pace on the front here, and coming back to the wheel of Evans. I presume the tactic is that he will continue on and just make a real fast pace and try and put everybody under difficulty, as we see Thomas Voeckler in big difficulty immediately here.